Hey, everybody. Welcome to American Barbell Unleashed. I'm Phil Patty. I'm sitting here with Sergio Oliva Jr., and we haven't talked in a little while, so we're going to kind of catch up with him a little bit and see what he's been up to. So tell us what you've been doing.
Yeah, no, it's been a while since Olympia. You traveled a little bit. I traveled a little bit. I went to China, your favorite, second favorite place. Then I spent a little time in Japan, which was really cool. It's the first time I've ever been in China. So I should have asked for my tour guide to give me some tips of where to go.
Yeah, I've been going for about, actually, now it's been about 25 years. Spent a lot of time there learning the culture. It's an interesting country for sure.
Have you seen it change between kind of like the hold on China? Because I'm sure 25 years ago it was probably a little bit better, right?
Well, it was interesting because the massive growth, like there's two main areas. There's in Shanghai, that's where I always fly into. There's Puxi and Pudong, and the buildings you see them on TV, these monster skyscrapers. It's just incredible buildings. Pudong that came in after the fact wasn't there in like the late 70s. It was all like fields, and then it just blew up and grew like crazy. But as far as the culture goes and everything, it's pretty much the same. Of course, COVID, changed the world over there. The people were locked in the house for like basically 2 years of 3. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even know that they don't have Instagram, YouTube,
Oh,
Facebook, even
no.
WhatsApp. I didn't even understand that there was no. They have their own version of WhatsApp. So when I
Right.
got there, it was a little like rough to not even talk to like my clients and stuff like that. But honestly, probably like a day or two in, I loved not having to use my phone. It was really great because I couldn't use it really for social media. It was great to like not even think about it and kind of
Right.
be more immersed in what was going on in the now rather than kind of like filming.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, they follow TikTok, and then they have Weixin, which is called WeChat, right?
Chad, yeah.
And that's what they follow. But yeah, all those other things are definitely blocked.
Yeah,
And it's
and you can put a VPN on it like that, but the problem is you put the VPN on, then the Wi-Fi at the hotel doesn't work. So they're smart. They know.
yeah. The only way you can access those sites is if you're on your own data. But even there was a period of time where I would come and go, and then even that would be blocked. I mean, I had an episode a year or two ago after it reopened after COVID where I couldn't get on anything. It was blocked.
Nothing.
Totally blocked.
So yeah, it was cool. It was cool to do that. It was also nice to get a break away from Vegas. Honestly, it was really great to be here for the Olympia. But man, was Vegas packed with all the athletes that came into town. So that was really cool. It was good to be around some of my friends that were competing. But between me and you, I really was really butthurt that I wasn't competing. So it wasn't like a very like celebratory kind of time. I did want to say though, I really had a great time at our booth. I really thought, especially for it to be our first booth, still trying to figure out things at the Olympia. I thought it was really great. It was very easy. We had a great spot.
Yeah.
And the competition was really great. I think there was a lot of people that really enjoyed that. And it was good to kind of like even meet. I saw that you talked to Kai Green. That was really cool. He's always someone great to talk to.
Yeah. Interesting guy.
Yeah, for sure, to say the least. So that was really cool, and I really did enjoy that. And I never got to see you. I wanted to say thanks because it was some booths are pretty stressful. It's just in a stressful and an unnecessary way. So there's no stress, and sometimes you're not even stressed, but other people are stressed. That it kind of like makes the booth kind of like a negative. But I thought it was
Right.
really great. I'm excited to do another one. Hopefully, maybe we'll do one for the Arnold.
Yeah.
Which is I'm trying to maybe hop into the Arnold as the next competition. So just since the last time I saw you, like I traveled, I got a new coach now. So he lives here in Vegas, which I think is going to be a really good thing for me, is to have someone be able to look at me in person rather than sending photos.
Yeah. Where was the prior coach? In LA?
In Austria.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's definitely it's doable, and you have
Sure.
to do it through photos. But I've actually known Dom for a long time, who's my new coach. He was actually helping me when I first moved to Vegas with just some gut health and stuff like that. He's very, very serious about health. And I think a lot of my issues, like where I'm, we haven't talked about my show in Italy. I was looking amazing, and really I had some kind of digestive issues where once you start cutting water, it's very hard for your body to digest food. And so what happens is the closer you get to being on stage, you do want to keep pulling water, but then you have to have this balance with putting in sodium so you keep a pump, but you also want to eat food so you can last throughout the day.
Right.
I've learned in my years of competing, if I eat while I'm pulling water, it just stays in my stomach. And I can go from having like a vacuum where I can pull my stomach in to it's almost like a bloated stomach.
Wow.
So it just was very fortunate that I messed it up hours right before I went on stage. I looked really great the morning of. You'll hear a lot of guys like, oh, I looked good the day after, but that's because of other reasons. That's because you posed all day, you're not stressed anymore. But looking good right before the show and messing it up, that means it's just you having to figure out your health kind of issues. It's not a like, I trained better, I trained harder. It has nothing to do with that. It's more figuring out the anatomy of your body and how it works. So I think the guy that I have now is really going to help me with that. So that was really cool. I'm really excited to get back into it. But after traveling, I was so excited to get back because we had some new machines.
Yeah.
I was very excited about trying.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And especially leg stuff. I will say that we did not have that much leg stuff, and that was something that I had talked to you about. And almost all the new machines are all leg stuff.
Right, right.
And I wouldn't say any of the machines that are of the new line the same as anyone else. Every single one that I got on, maybe from looking at it from an outside, it looked just like just a regular leg press. But not only the mechanics of it and how it moves and like the leg press in general, in particular, I should say, I love the grip on the platform.
Right.
It's like a big
the foot plate.
Yeah, it is really good. It's little things like that. The handles, where I put my handles, sometimes I'll be doing leg press. You'll see a lot of people too. You're like changing your grip. Like you're holding this one, now you're holding the seat, now you're holding above. It was really nice that in just one bar, there was almost 3 different spots that I could find a perfect grip for it.
Right. Well, that's what we wanted to do is keep it simple. The adjustable foot plate's a big seller, a big feature that allows you to change the angles when you're using it, of course. But and I've always been big trying to address high wear areas. So those handles that you had your hands all over, that's a knurled stainless steel handle, and it's cool because it's a non-wear item. People today, they do not like to fix equipment all the time, so we're trying to address that. But yeah, so you were able to try the new linear leg press, the vertical leg press, and the power squat.
Yeah.
Today, and the belt squat as well.
Squat, right. And I was going to say, even the belt squat, right, it looks like a regular belt squat. I mean, you can't get too fancy with the belt squat. But I don't know what you did where it feels so sturdy that was probably my favorite part about it is usually when I do belt squat, I'll load it up. I'll put on, 6, 8 plates on there. Once you're at that kind of weight, the machine is completely different. Everyone's machine that I've used for a belt squat is exactly the same until you get right above that kind of like 5, 6 plates on each side. Then you can really feel the unsure of it, like it's like either wobbling or the handle kind of moves when you're going down. Even the grip on the handle is really nice.
Yeah. Well, how much weight, because when I think about design and engineering, it's why I was showing you that we use a safety rated carabiner or something very strong. How much weight would you use maximum? Excuse me.
I don't know. What's
wrong with me?
600 pounds?
So that's a lot. And then you have the jerking momentum too.
Right.
So that's why, I like to make sure that I've addressed all those concerns to make sure that everything about all the functions and the features are strong. I tell people all the time, you never know who's going to use which machine, right? I mean, you can get people that are putting, you think about 500 or 600 pounds, but again, if you're bending down and somebody's really jerking or they have slack in the chain and then they stand up and jerk, it's the momentum and the shock force is far beyond 600 pounds.
It's got to be tough making machines and having to make it for the general person, but then also know that there is going to be some big behemoths on your machines and you have to prepare for them too. And I think that's what keeps happening with the injuries is people are getting on machines that they're fine for a regular, Planet Fitness kind of person. But once you have an actual, you don't even have to even lift heavy. You can even just be a heavy person. And that changes the mechanics of things. And then things start to wear and tear over, something might be great for a year or even 2. It's after that you start to really notice you kind of I don't know, I don't feel safe on this.
Right.
And I've seen some, where the chain breaking, someone going flying backwards. It's a big deal. I saw one on a belt squat where because the handle went back, because that's how you unrack it. it actually tried to rack itself when you were coming up, because those last reps are the scariest ones, because that's when your form goes to shit. It's really where you're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes. So if the machine is very good quality, it doesn't matter if you're failing because the machine isn't going to. But the problem, those last ones, you're just kind of like doing whatever you can to get up or finish the rep. That's when things are going to happen. I've seen people go flying backwards where they racked it and it kind of like stopped them from coming up high enough.
Yeah.
So I really like that one a lot. The most change, the vertical press, I think it was very smooth.
Vertical leg.
Yeah, I think that was really good. And the adjustable plate is such a necessity now, because a lot of those in the beginning were used for just glutes or like a hamstring kind of press. So you didn't really have to adjust it. But you can do quads on there if you are going low enough and you do the right form. But with the old platforms on those old machines, it's impossible. The ankle flexibility on it is just not going to allow you to do it. So me being able to kind of like find that sweet spot where, like me, yeah, I want to work a little bit of glutes, but I mostly want to be more targeting on my legs. And on that one, I could do that. I could say that I'm getting a leg workout on that machine, where the other ones, if you're saying you're getting a leg workout, it's just because you're putting on so many plates and you're kind of pushing your knees off of your stomach and doing glutes. So,
are you moving the plate at all from an adjustable angle perspective on the vertical leg press? Did you move it at all, or did you leave it?
That's what I'm saying. I found that sweet spot.
So you did find it. You moved it around and tested the different positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, if anyone knows who working out, where your toes are pointed is really going to tell you what kind of muscle you're more, utilizing. But it just felt, I mean, me too, I'm not like tall, but for bodybuilding, I'm tall. And so my legs, I feel like, are really long. So usually when I use those machines, I'm either like kneeing myself in the mouth, or just my stomach has no room to even inhale. And that's what I really liked the most. So that one was really good. But if I had to pick out all the machines that I would say look exactly the same, but it's not until you got on it, is that power squat. I was laughing with Milena shooting it, because I'm like, oh yeah, let's load it up, because I want to like see how it feels. And usually, especially facing in, people load that up. I've seen women put where you can't even put any more weight on there.
Really?
They're mostly doing like a hyper back extension on there. They're doing a lot of glutes or stiff legged. So it's not much of like a press, but you can still put a lot of weight on there. So I even like loaded it up, and I'm like, even with the little bit that I even put, I'm like, let me see how it feels. It was too much. It was like, for some reason, and that's why I wanted to ask you, I don't know what you guys did, but it doesn't go up and down. It goes down, and then I don't know what's happening with the mechanics, where at the bottom, it makes you kind of go backwards. So if you're facing in the machine, when you go down, it's making you go forward into it. But if you're facing out, where your back is against it, when you go down, it's almost like a perfect squat. Do you remember those old machines where you would put the seatbelt and then you would kind of just go backwards and you would squat? I think it's called like a perfect squat. That's how I felt on that. It's like it's almost like in a roller coaster, and you just go backwards, but it makes you, even if you don't want to, it makes you do perfect squat form. And it's very demeaning, honestly, because it's like, normally used to just slapping on a bunch of plates on there, I had to take some off because I was like, man, this is really good. But it felt really good. It felt like 10 plates, but I probably had 3 on there.
Well, you can use obviously much more facing out than in, can't you?
No, you can put way more in facing in.
Facing in.
Yeah, because you don't get any glutes when you're facing out, because your butt is against the pad.
Okay.
But that's what was really nice about this machine, is usually with those, I have to kind of usually walk out a little bit so I can give my room, my like hips room to go backwards. On this one, I didn't have to do that, because even though my hips and my butt were against the pad itself moved back at the bottom, but it's at the very bottom.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. We're introducing, so the next products that we'll be introducing will be a pendulum squat, the new hack slide, and the new hack slide that's coming out also converts the seats adjustable, so you can do a seated hack, not just a 45 degree. So the back comes up. It's an interesting feature. So it'll be interesting to see what you think of those, because
I've never even heard of something like that.
Yeah, we're trying to innovate right now. We don't want to be Me Too. It's like I've told people, or the listeners on other prior podcasts, that I actually came from this world. I've been out of the weight stack, plate loaded world for several years, and I swore I'd never get back into it. But with plate loaded being so popular right now, I just became very interested to develop some very unique pieces and to address ease of use, very, very low maintenance and durability. And like I was telling you earlier, when I design pieces, I always think about how can they break under any circumstance, and how can somebody get hurt and the severity of the injury if somebody does, because people do get hurt, but boy, do we try to keep that to a dead minimum for sure. And that's why you have to be careful with too many adjustments that, you can have levers break, and you don't want machines where everything's predicated on a handbrake and a pin, and all of a sudden that fails and you're lifting 600 pounds and it goes feather light. That's how you're flying off the back or somewhere. So we try to address all of those things for sure.
No, it's very simple. Like there was enough adjustments. Like I was saying, the platform, the seat, things like that. It was really great to be able to do that, but not where it's overcomplicated.
Right.
Like I feel like once I set it, I'm good. And if I was training with someone else too, it would be kind of the same setting for that person as well, rather than having to, yeah, exactly. I know what you're talking about, where you almost have to slide all the way in, press the handle with some kind of almost like a brake,
Sure.
like a bike brake, and then that allows you to release the seat.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're not seeing me using any bike brake levers. I mean, they break like crazy, and it's a nightmare. And then you get a consumer gym owner that calls up and they say, how do I change this cable? And it's like, don't want anything to do with that. I like to keep it very, very simple, but very robust and strong. That's the whole key. So I've always thought about how to make equipment to that level. If you think about some of the videos that we have of dropping, Olympic bars with 475 pounds from 13 feet in the air on half safety bars, or you watch people like yourself picking up 160s, 180 dumbbells, Ronnie Coleman throwing 200s. It's like, that's a different product to build stuff and to build stuff at that level. And I tell people that if you build at that level, it's always going to work and insulate me as a manufacturer, and it'll insulate the buyer, user, from getting hurt, because it's dangerous products.
You must have just have horror stories of the only way someone can prepare for the worst means you had to have at some point seen some horrors happening in the gym in your time, because some of the stuff that you were even telling me about these machines, I didn't even think about that even being a danger until you said it. And it's like, man, you must have just seen someone's crushed.
No, well, it's like I was telling you, I've seen Smith machines crush people's bodies where they couldn't get out from underneath it, and there weren't any safeties at the bottom. So it, 400 or 500 pounds chased them all the way to the floor and crushed their back, spine, whatever you want to call it. I've seen people, one of the biggest lawsuits in the industry was somebody that was using a machine, just a normal selector weight stack machine, and they were stretching on it, and they pulled it over on themselves, crushed them, paralyzed. Oh. And I mean, those are simple, and it sounds dumb, but as it sounds like something, people would say, well, that was dumb. Why were they doing that? Well, back to, you can't control what people do in the gyms. So it's kind of a tragedy, because that was a $63 million award. It was a judgment. And the reason why the award was so high, because the manufacturer of the machine and the gym owner knew it was a hazard and they didn't address it. That's why I tell people that, anybody that wants to know about manufacturing, if you design and build anything and you see something, whether out of the gate or it pops up later, that's a safety hazard, and you don't address it by way of registered letters and sign-offs and, anything else to warn, then that's where those punitive damages kick in, which is neglect. It's erroneous. You knew that somebody could get hurt and you didn't warn them. So there's a lot to it. That's why I get on this bandwagon of talking about be careful with all these brand new manufacturers that don't have any history. You've got to really watch this stuff for years.
Well, I love that the first thing after I tried the new pieces, it wasn't like you wanted me to kind of blow smoke up your butt. The first thing that you asked me is, what don't you like?
Yeah.
I like that. That's not usually what anyone really ever, as the first question they're asking about anything, any kind of critiquing of something, especially something you've built with your own kind of like hands and your own time. The first thing usually people don't want to hear is, what they didn't like about it. So I love that that was right away from the get-go.
yeah.
You're like, okay, tell me what you don't like. And honestly, yeah, I think we talked about it on actually one of the other episodes. The first line of the leg press, that was something that I got to change as I got here. Came
Yeah,
to the
you
warehouse,
contributed to
and
that.
that's really cool. It's my baby downstairs. I
Yeah.
get to have my hand in that. And exactly, I think it's a lot of things where unless you spend a long time in the gym, you're probably people won't even have noticed the differences that we made from one machine to the other.
Yeah.
Someone who's experienced and knows that even just the getting in and out of the machine. That has nothing to do with the mechanics of the machine, how it works on your body, the safetiness of it, protecting you while you're lifting that weight. It's just having to do with when you're dead tired and you're already kind of lightheaded and dizzy, getting out of that machine and it being easier is something that can go a long way.
Oh,
But
for sure.
most people are not going to really excuse my language, give a shit about you getting in and out of the machine. They just want you to not die and can it lift the weights?
Can it lift the weights? Well, when you and I zoomed in on the first revision, which was actually a rush, I knew that the products were good enough to start testing and playing with. But it wasn't until I had it on the floor, and then the first thing you said to me is, I love it, but look at this handle and look at the trip hazard. Well, for me, those are bells and sirens because tripping. So, okay, do you trip? Do you fall backwards and hit your head on another piece behind? And now are you brain damaged? I mean, it sounds crazy. But so all you had to do is point that out. That got changed immediately. I could tell that the original foot plate had some wear items that I didn't like. That's why we changed it to a really heavy-duty non-slip surface. We added that center handle to make it easier to pull out of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can reach all the way to the top of the plate. And then I went through and made all the hardware changes. And even something as simple as hardware would blow your mind if you knew what was behind choosing the right hardware. Because, I mean, there's different grades of hardware. Where do you need super strong? Where do you not? Right? To hold on an upholstered pad, you don't need a super strong bolt. But to hold on things that, have a lot of load and force on them, you've got to engineer all that stuff different. So It's kind of the world I live in, and I love the changes because when you go that far as we've gone on those first three pieces, I want to know immediately, did we miss anything? Now, of course, we would ask you, then we would ask, somebody that was very small. It's funny, back in the day, I used to test equipment on people that were in the 5-foot range and around 6'3" to 6'4". And that's how we always knew biomechanically you hit it. Once you start getting in people that are above 6'5", 6'6", up to 7 foot, it's actually an entire different unit. It really is.
For sure.
Something I learned about biomechanics years ago, there was a chart that I'll never forget, looking at the distance of one individual to the next between the ankle and the knee and various things, and the elbow to the end of the hand, and it was surprisingly not that far for the average person between 5'2" and 6'3". It really changed though when people got really tall, right? So, those are very, very specialized. So. But anyway, no, great stuff. I'm glad you really liked it, and we're going to keep hitting it hard. The next go round will be coming in pretty soon. We're in the final phases of different colors. Now we're playing with the lipstick. We want to go cosmetics, right? We want to have all the trick little bells and whistles and all the fun stuff.
Telling Elena, actually, I think we have the best plates. The teams and the stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'll post them. All I do is just get hate from the rival team from the college. Yeah, but I love it. That just shows exactly how passionate people are.
Oh, yeah.
That they could even have plates with their team on it. That's really cool. And really what they were is they were jealous that I had the Penn State on there.
Yeah.
Probably not Michigan State.
Yeah. Well, private logos and just the ID is so important to people these days. So we've really tried to address that and come up with inexpensive ways to logo. But again, there's so many ways that people logo today with screen printing and things that come off very easy. So we don't do any of that. We try to do everything permanent. Because again, we have product like with the bumper plate, the urethane bumper that you're talking about that you've shown on some of the posts. We've got those. Those now are running 9 years almost 10 years old, and we've got about 140 to 150,000 of them out in circulation, and they all look new.
Wow.
I mean, there's virtually no wear. We haven't had any reported failures. So yeah, it's an incredible product. That's urethane.
No, that's insane. And I also didn't talk about is the frog press machine. It's not something that I use a lot. I'll use a lot of glute machines right before a show. But I sent a photo to my wife, and I know that she's super excited to try it because she was able to make some changes on that too, which is really great. And that's also actually relieving a lot of injuries for a lot of people. The way most people do that before there was this machine is putting a bench under a Smith machine, and then you just have to put your feet on the bar, and you have to unhook it by spinning the bar to unhook itself. The wild things that we do for
well, there you go.
But so it's funny how, right, this machine, which you've already even changed a prototype and another prototype to make it safer and safer, even the first prototype is already saving people from being injured from this kind of, because you either have to have a buddy hook it for you, or you'll see people that train by themselves, especially a lot of women. Unhooking it maybe is a little bit easy. You press up and it kind of unhooks itself. Hooking it,
what about racking it?
Is like,
racking it back
is a very rare skill for someone to have. So being able to have a machine where you could just get in, have the handles right in front of you to unlock it is really genius.
Yeah. Well, the thing is when it comes to equipment design, I've always consulted with good people that are biomechanical, because there's many schools of thought. You've got somebody like yourself that's trained for years and years, and you know how things should feel, at least what you prefer. You've obviously learned inadvertently biomechanics because,
doing everything
Yeah. I mean, you could, like I tell people, you can use a leg extension, and if that machine is designed wrong, I mean, pivot points are critical. So anytime a machine has a pivot point where it's pivot point dependent, an axis of rotation that you have to line up, like a bicep curl where you have to line up your joint to the axis of rotation on the machine, you'll know if it's wrong because you're fighting it. Like in the case of a leg extension, the pad will roll up your legs.
Right.
But a lot of times that can be the seat's adjusted wrong too, and it's either pushed you forward or too far back. So that's why it's important to have an understanding of training and be schooled by trainers. But I love to go across the board, and you hit people like physical therapists, people like yourself, and that's really the way you get the best products built. You get the buy-in from as many people that are knowledgeable as you can. No doubt about it. It's not just, a bunch of guys sitting in a room going, yeah, that looks cool. And that's what happened with the early products coming out of China back in, gosh, I remember when the China products first started to surface in the mid-'80s. They were biomechanical disasters. They were copied, but they weren't even close to being biomechanically correct.
So, let's say, because I've been with other companies before, so I could use as an example that power squat, right? I know that power squat for maybe some of these other companies are very expensive, like almost 20 grand for a machine. So I know how much time that takes for them to make that machine as well. So it's weird because I almost feel like ours is a little bit safer, but I don't feel like it costs 20 G's to make that machine.
No.
It's going to cost the consumer to make that. But how long does it take to make that power squat?
To make a machine like that?
Yeah.
Well, after you get through the prototyping phases, for years and years, when I built equipment, I just had a table, a metal table, and a thick metal table, and a welding machine, and I would just tack pieces together, because it was really funny. I was telling somebody a couple months ago that when I first teamed up with Life Fitness and their engineering team in 1995, the first thing they did was they came to me and they said, oh, we need to draw everything first. And I said, no, we don't do it like that. And they said, we have to draw it. And I said, you don't want to draw it because you will tear it apart 9 times before everybody says, bingo, it's what we want. And then you draw it, and that's how they do it today. They have a little R&D, research and development prototype shop, a guy with a welder, the exercise phys people come in and out, they all test it, bless it, and they build it. But to answer your question on how long, once you get it to the point where you want it, then you fixture it. So I'll give you a great example. in the early 90s, when I developed the line that later became Life Fitness Pro 1, I had skilled fabricators, meaning that not only were they welders that could run beautiful welds, but they had to be fabricators, meaning they had to be able to construct something. It's like a cabinet builder or somebody like that, a furniture builder. Well, that is any way to get in. That is not any way to get any volume out the door. So the first thing that they did was they went out and we consulted with enough experts and we built a rotisserie fixture program, kind of like you put an engine. You've seen engines on a it's like a rotisserie. You put the engine block on and then you start bolting parts and you turn it upside down. Well, that's what we did. And with these fixtures, you can slap all the pieces together. And then there's clamp blocks that control distortion. Those are, a lot of different terms. I could go deep on all of that. But I'll tell you a funny story. We all probably understand the word distortion. I would, being neurotically anal like I am, I would build these, because I built everything myself originally because I was a welder and I appreciated that. So I would build these beautiful things and I would tack them all together just enough to hold them together so I could see the finished product. And then I would weld it all up and it looked like a bulldozer ran over it. It would be so twisted. It was insane. So then I learned stress relieving, where I'm bringing the metal back and doing all these crazy things to get it to look like the original shape. So with these amazing fixtures that we built in this fixture program, we would slap the pieces in and it would control that distortion. But the cool thing behind it was it took away the need now to be a skilled fabricator, and now you could just be a good welder. And all you had to do was put the pieces in and you welded it, rotated it, and the machine was done. So in that case, we would take a leg extension machine with a weight stack, and we went from building 1 to 1.5 a day to 5 or 6 with a fixture. So to answer your question, you would be able to build 5 of those in a day.
Because you have all these already set up.
Without fixtures, you'd be lucky to build 1 in a day. So that's efficiency. And that's why, I always used to tell people when I would get quotes on certain things, I would always say, don't make me pay for your inability to compete. So if you're going to compete, you got to know how to do things the fastest, smartest, best way to build it. So we've got a massive fixture program, and that's what you have to do to get them out the door. Otherwise, they'd be a fortune. The problem is with a lot of these new companies that are entering that have these crazy prices I've been hearing about, they're trying to pay for all that flashy marketing. Marketing's expensive. So they're trying to recover those costs, but it's really not right for the consumer. It doesn't need to cost that much. As some of the things that you see. So the power squat in question that you're talking about, you always have to have a higher retail to build in distributors and stuff, but that thing's probably got a price that'll go out to a gym less than $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can see it's detailed.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and even that platform was adjustable too. I didn't even mention that.
Yeah. All 3 machines were platform adjustable.
Yeah, the belt squat too. I've never seen a belt squat with an adjustable.
Well, that was input from our resident physical therapist, Zach Couples, that's inside the building here. He told me exactly what he liked. He said, don't make it, bend down on the outside. And then he also went back and, showed me the different positions and how it affected his body. And he preferred the hook on the very back position to give him the best alignment. And again, think about what happens in the gym. People just hook it wherever because there's no guidance.
Yeah.
Right? There's no biomechanical guidance. But anyway, we could go on with that forever and ever.
No, yeah, it was really great. I'm curious too. Whenever obviously since I've been with you and I'm always picking your brain. Now, even when I was in China, and I'm even looking at their machines at their gym, now I'm just noticing a lot of things I've never noticed before. Like, oh, that's definitely gonna break. Oh, that definitely looks like a questionable locking mechanism. So it's really cool, but it's just one of those things where if you're just kind of like an average person just they're lucky if they can go to the gym 3 times a week, during work and the family and the kids. They're not even thinking about those things. But everything that you're talking about, a gym owner is absolutely having to deal with on a daily basis. So I know a lot of the things that you're even talking about, probably going over a lot of even athletes' heads, a general person's head, but the people who have to actually maintenance these machines, or more what I'm saying, pay for the maintenance, those are when you really are noticing all those little, even the fixtures, like you're saying, it's a big deal and you're not taking that little shortcut. you can have the same machine for the whole time you ever have that gym.
Oh, yeah. Well, and look, I've mentioned it in the past that my mission going forward is education. I love the opportunity to show someone what to look for, what I do different, all the things that I've seen. I had a conversation with a person today, and I told them, there's a lot of companies that'll say, oh, we build, every Olympic bar we make has a needle bearing in it. And I told this person today, I said, never, ever buy a needle bearing bar. And he said, why? And I said, because they're dangerous. They're only made for competitive IWF weightlifters. That's the only person that wants that bar. All the designs on the market are built incorrectly, where over time they eventually fail. They cut in half, the sleeves fall off, the bar flies by the user's face or through your face. And it's just things like that where there's people that think it's an upgraded value to throw these bearings in there.
He's
It's not.
you it like he's thriving about it.
Oh, he thinks that he got a deal because they threw in a needle bearing bar for $10 more. And I'm going, you just inherited some monster liability. Yeah. Or there's two other competitors that in some circles are considered formidable competitors. And I looked at one of their Olympic bars and it said 28 millimeter power bar. There's no such thing. Every power bar that I've ever known to be is 29 millimeter or larger. And then another company says that their bars are really nice because they have grip assisted etching.
Oh, that sounds fancy.
That sounded fancy. And after we all stopped laughing, we said, do you think they meant knurling?
Oh, God.
That's called knurl, right? But it just goes to show you that you have people that are that low level experienced building extremely dangerous products. So I really look forward to getting in front of people and just telling them everything I know, because it's all I've done is learn the categories. Right.
I love this. I love being on this team. It's really cool. It's opened my world up. Obviously, I grew up in a gym. I literally was raised in a gym. So it's really cool that even me, someone who's been raised in a gym, can learn so much. But I love being a part of someone where you like being challenged. And this podcast is really rare too. I don't see any other companies, CEOs just sitting down and getting in front of a camera and pretty much saying like, yeah, shoot me a question.
Yeah.
You love talking about the stuff, and you can see it too when you talk about it. So this has been really cool, and I can't wait to see what else is coming up soon. Even just that stationary, the preacher crawl, even just something like that where, right, there is nothing that moves on it, but just having something that's kind of like designed for how other people made mistakes on it.
Right.
While also making it cheaper for the person who's buying it for their gym or their home.
Oh, for sure. Well, back in the day, I'll never forget one example was I made a multi-hip machine. And back in the day, that multi-hip machine had the roller pad coming down and it moved up or down. You could set the range of motion, and then there were some handles, and you held onto the handles and you kicked, or you used, the inner and outer exercise. And I liked one version from one company. This is back in the late 90s or late 80s. I loved one version, but I liked the back platform from another company. So I just incorporated them together. And that's why I tell people that, boy, it's a pipe dream to think you're going to find one company that has everything that you like. So right now, when people ask how far I want to go into the new line across the board, I don't want to compete against all the other guys. I want unique pieces that are different. That way, I don't care what you have a line of, you'll still want my pieces that are unique. That way I can pop them in, and I'm not competing against the mainstream, because the big guys fight it out at the top, I'll tell you what. And a lot of them aren't making any money because they're so competitive.
I mean, yeah, they might be spending on marketing. I can't even imagine.
Oh, well, I'll tell you right now, when you go to a show like HFA, the old URSA, and you look at a booth like a Life Fitness booth or a Techno Gym booth, that's the low side of $2 million to do that show for them.
For just a weekend.
For 8 hours. 8 or 10 hours of exhibit time. It's crazy.
Gosh.
So, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. And we've thought about it's the one-on-one that does so much more than a lot of those trade shows. So we're actually going to rethink that. We would much rather bring people into our facility, put them through everything, spend some time for them to get to know our products. And again, that's how you get good feedback. So
I mean, let's be real too. Also, having something that's existed for so long, like we talked about, I think the last time I was on the podcast, how Venice Beach is how many generations have been through Gold's Gym Venice Beach, and have used American Barbell, and you're literally like putting things into existence that multiple generations are using. Like how did my dad use dumbbells that I'm now using, for it to have lasted that long since from the 80s until now. So you also know, let's be real, you also knowing that in the background where it's almost like, I wish you would talk crap about our stuff because, right, there's no complaints, there's no anything coming back where someone got hurt or a gym is now having to spend more money than it costs for the machine to put maintenance on the machine.
Right.
Because that's what I hear a lot, actually, on a lot of these, is people are dropping, not a lot, because it's off of someone who's stealing someone else's idea. Usually one of kind of these Asian companies, they'll steal someone's idea, fabricate it faster than somebody else, but then now the amount that it's cost them to fix it ended up costing more than the actual machine. So
for sure.
I'm sure it helps you to be able to be loving what you do because you know no one's ever going to be able to badmouth what you've made because you're making it and not someone else, and then they're just sending it around the world.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll close out on a couple notes. One thing you'll be interested in. So Gold's Gym has the gym chain, and then they have corporate clubs that are owned by corporate.
Right.
And you know how many times
which they just sold. I don't know if you saw that a couple weeks ago.
Gold's corporate sold again?
They sold every single Gold's Gym location except Venice.
Oh, you're talking about it in Southern California.
Yeah, they're done.
Oh, that's Angel Banos.
Yeah.
I've known him for 35 years.
So it's wow, they're all going to change.
Oh no, well that's going to become an EOS.
Yeah, EOS.
That's exactly what happened in Vegas, Palm Springs, and
right.
and Arizona. But here's what I was going to tell you. So it's interesting because the corporate, so when I say corporate, though, I mean the entity. Like I think it's RSG Group out of Germany owns the entity.
Exactly.
Right, including Venice and some corporate clubs. There's about 100 of them. And they're based out of Dallas, Gold's Corporate. And I talked to the two top guys at corporate. And when we spoke last week, they agreed and I agreed. I said, look, guys, I've had Olympic bars in there since 1998. It's time to refresh them. Right? They're 27 years old. We've got dumbbells from one of my original companies in there. We've got American Barbell, but it looks like a mess. And I said, this is the most famous gym arguably in the world. Let's facelift it. So we're pushing for that right now because, and then I said, and by the way, in the parking lot, it was funny. I talked to a guy named Dave Weber, who's the equipment guy for Gold's Corporate, but he's also a mechanical engineer. And of course, my ears perk up. I love that because those are my customers. I love mechanical people. So I said, by the way, those machines out in the parking lot that have been outside in the parking lot, those Life Fitness machines? And he goes, yeah, what about them? And I said, I made those too. And he goes, I had no clue. And I said, so let's get that show on the road and let's make that gym the coolest thing on the planet.
Yeah, it really needs it too.
Badly facelift.
Yeah.
Badly.
It is. It is an actual historic place for sure. It's not just a gym.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the other thing I was going to close out on, and I'll go deeper when I get into more educational podcasts, because I'm hoping to, do some on bars and how dumbbells were created in my world. And, I tell everybody everything I've ever developed was to solve a problem of some nature. But as I mentioned to you today, which is really important for the public to understand, at the speed that these new companies are surfacing, building equipment, it's important to understand that where's the engineering and testing? These companies are emerging and they've got money to buy product and maybe design something off of a catalog or whatever, but they forgot about the engineering that's required in the testing. And that's something that I tell people, you can't rush that time of testing and how many years it takes to watch stuff. So when I talk about having weight stack machines around the world that are 30, 35 years old, well, I've been watching them for 35 years. I know what they're doing. They're still out there. So you can imagine when I hear of something, it's a year old, 6 months old, and a weld broke or this broke, it's like, oh man, think about what's going to happen 5, 10, 15 years from now.
So you're saying that even some stuff, because I had asked you how long it takes to make a machine. You're saying once you've already figured everything out, you can knock one out in a day. But that machine you might have even been working on with the trial and errors for years.
Oh yeah, like 47. So everything I've learned for the last 47 years, I incorporate to everything I do. So it's the way you weld components together. It's the type of welding. It's how things are connected. And again, without going down a rabbit hole, I was looking at a press arm on a chest press from a very currently well-known company, and I'm looking at this chest arm where you got guys like yourself that could press 400 or 500 pounds, whatever it may be, and I'm looking at this piece of tubing, and it's at an angle, and instead of using a bend, they cut and weld and spliced it together. There's no way on God's green earth I would ever do something like that, because it will break at that joint. No doubt about it.
No matter what.
No doubt about it will break. Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 5 years? Who knows? But when it does, and if you happen to have 500 pounds on it and that side goes feather light, what's your shoulder doing? So again, those are rabbit holes. I love the thought of going deep down.
Well, I can't wait I want to watch those episodes. I want to learn too.
I would love Q&A too. If I could figure out how to set up our system where people could actually, be online and call in with a question or something, I live for that. That would be a blast.
I think that'd be really cool.
And remember, I'm not going to tell you something I don't know. If you're going to ask me how to train somebody, I'm going to say, nah, I'm going to go next.
Call Malena.
All right. Well, listen, thanks so much for coming in. Always great to see you.
I'll be back.
We have a lot of fun together, and thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to American Barbell Unleashed, and we'll see you guys next time.